Jim Patterson, thank you for coming along, mate. Welcome to the Grind Diaries.
Pleasure. Well, music's always been a big part of my life, all my life, but since I first picked up guitar, I knew that was the thing for me. And it was based on my local pub, but it was based on several characters becoming one character. You know? Everyone knows Davy Jones, who props up the bar by the telephone. Yeah. And it was about a guy that used to always stand in that same spot by the phone with his pint, but he was making time for what makes you tick and not giving your time to things that don't make you tick. If it's not making you happy, you're not enjoying it, well, life's too short to sort of waste your time on that, you know? From my own point of view, it come to a point where my sister passed away during lockdown, just totally out of the blue, really. And I think we were all in our own little bubbles and stuff like that. And then that happened and just went bang. And it was just, well, you can't really comprehend something like that, can you? With somebody losing a family member that you've been so close to.
How you doing?
I'm very good. How's yourself?
Yeah, really well, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time out your day to come and talk to me. It's
great. Good to be here.
Yeah, loving the aesthetics, mate, with the guitar and everything set up. It's all looking good.
That? Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Perfect, mate. Love it. Yeah, do you want to we start by just kind of talking a bit of introduction about you and, you know, what you're up to? You know, obviously, for those that don't know, Jim and I go back quite a way, actually. I've been quite heavily into the indie music scene for quite a while, and Jim's always been a big part of it with local music, been in plenty of bands, done the tours and all the different venues that we'll chat about. So we've sort of
got some history, haven't we?
Definitely have, yeah, definitely. Just a little bit about you.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'm Jim. I'm a musician from sort of Southampton area, really. I'd say that's where I sort of work out of. As Ant said, been in numerous bands over the years, recording, playing gigs, getting around the country. You know, basically a big part of my life and a sort of big outlet for me and a big focus of mine. Something that I've always continued to work really hard at, and that's why I'm here today, really.
Yeah,
'cause I'm still going.
Yeah, it's great, and I think we'll get right into the detail of this throughout the conversation. But I think what I admire so much about your journey is that there have been so many people along the way that have done so well and then just dropped away slowly but surely over the years. People have, you know, got families and for very, very valid reasons have just kind of dropped out of the music scene and you know, gone to live a normal life. And I think from your perspective, like you're just there, like still cracking on,
Still hanging around, yes,
and
definitely.
still, but more importantly, still writing music and creating, and still writing great music and creating great music. So, long may that continue.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's one of them things that sort of stays with you, really. You know, when a band's broken up or when something's come along, like children and things like that, maybe people reach for, you know, some golf clubs, or they reach for something to go in a different path with their life, think, well, I've had enough of this, or I need a change. For me, I've always reached for the guitar and seen it as a way of sort of getting feelings off my chest, talking about the day to day, whatever comes up, really. And, you know, it's just something that's a part of me, I think.
Yeah.
And something that sort of struggle to get away from. I don't know where I'd be without it. You know, whether you're working at the top level or whether you're sat at home on the sofa, you know, with a bit of paper writing some lyrics and a chorus. It's just something that has always been a big part of me since, I don't know, probably. Well, music's always been a big part of my life, all my life. But since I first picked up guitar, I knew that was the thing for me. Probably something that maybe I felt I took to quite well as well. I would never be claiming to be some Jimi Hendrix or anything, but it's definitely something I took to, where other things, maybe when I was younger, you know, your mates were miles better than you at them and stuff. But for me, the guitar was something that I thought, yeah, this is a bit of me, and we became friends. And we're still friends.
I love it.
A couple of breakups.
You're gonna give us a little blast on the guitar.
Yes,
a bit,
definitely.
hopefully.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
Would you like to hear a song?
Yeah, I'd love to, mate.
Okay.
Love to.
Let's do that.
You're gonna do one now?
Certainly am. Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Take it away.
Okay. She's the angel in my heart, and you're the devil on my shoulder. And things that just ain't changing as we're growing older. You always said keep your feet on the ground, keep on running, don't make a sound, my friends. My friends. No matter how much time you got on your hands, you can't stop the hands of time. No matter how much time you got on your hands, you can't stop the hands of time. You're a vision in my mind, entwined imagination, kaleidoscope dreams, drenched in perspiration. And hang those dreams from a neon sign, and you might just leave your past behind, my friends. My friends. No matter how much time you got on your hands, you can't stop the hands of time. No matter how much time you got on your hands, you can't stop the hands of time.
Amazing, man. That was amazing. Thank you for that.
It's all right, no problem.
Great tune. Great tune. All right, let's kick this off. What is your definition of success?
Success in life. My definition of success, I would say, is happiness and contentment. Really, content.
What is happiness to you? What is contentment?
Waking up and wanting to do what you do, and basically enjoying your life. I mean, you can have as much money as you want, but if you're not enjoying what you do and you're stressed to, the limit, is that happiness? Is that success? I don't know, really. Probably not. Waking up and thinking, right, I'm going to do what I want to do today with a smile on your face. Obviously, we all need a certain amount of money to survive. We all want to push forward in life. I'm not talking about, laying in the gutter looking up at the stars sort of thing. I'm talking about making your life work for you with what you feel you need to push forward, So yeah, basically happiness, contentment is what I'm looking for.
Awesome.
I'm no Alan Sugar.
How do you bring happiness and contentment into your life? Like, how do you make sure that remains a steadfast in your life?
Just sort of having a balance, really. I think, sort of dividing your mind up into sort of maybe 4 or 5 sort of areas in your life that are all positive and all work for you. So you got your day job or whatever that is. You've got your family. You've got your football team. You've got your music you're into, and then you've got your bit of breather time that you need every now and then just to sort of reset and then go again. So for me, if I was just all one thing, I think I need a variation of things in my life to be happy and to be successful, basically.
Wicked. It's an interesting perspective because, it's a lot of the people that I've spoken to on the podcast, their perspective of success has changed over years, and we've started thinking about the money and the cars and the holidays, and we end up in a space where probably more aligned to what your idea of success is now. But I kind of get the feeling that you've never really changed that mindset. You've always been like, no, like I just want a nice little life, and I want to make sure that the people around me are happy and that I'm happy and that we're just going to crack on. And
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, pretty much so. You know, you've got to keep your feet on the ground, haven't you? I mean, I've never been one for cars, really. I admire people that do have good cars and are into cars, but I'd rather just have an average car and a decent guitar on the back seat than a Porsche. To be honest with you, it doesn't do it for me, really. So, you know, I'd rather spend that money wisely. I like a good holiday as well. Don't get me wrong. So, you know, it's just having that balance and having the money to be able to just move forward, do the things you want to do, but it's not just about sticking it in the bank account because, you know, it's not worth being the richest man in the graveyard, is it? Life's for living at the end of the day, and you know, that's always been my motto, really, and even more so in the past few years since the whole COVID sort of thing, and you know, being able to get out and just be free and enjoy yourself and be who you want to be. That's success for me in a nutshell, I think.
Love it. Love it. Brilliant. Okay, great. Well, take us back, like, you know, go back to, you know, how you were brought up, what things kind of shaped you to become the person that you are today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was born in Winchester, and sort of always stayed fairly close to the nest, really. Sort of living in Southampton area, Eastleigh, you know, them sort of areas. Childhood was pretty good, to be honest. Pretty normal. Not weren't very overly spoiled, and we never went abroad or anything like that. But just grew up doing the things kids should be doing. You know, felt like your parents were there for you as a child. You know, sort of playing football, listening to music. I can remember being a massive Michael Jackson fan in the 80s, and like me and my mate had pictures of him all over the wall in the Jackson 5, and like any little picture went up, and there was a whole like back catalogue of stuff to be into there. And I think that was maybe my first stuff. I found a picture the other day of myself, like in my bedroom at home when I was, I don't know, about 6 or something, with a record player. I've got shades on and a dungarees on, green dungarees. I'm holding a little guitar and I'm holding up a record of Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth. Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, bit of a Rasta tune to be listening to at a young age, but I was obviously taken to music and getting into stuff. And I think around the time I was sort of growing up in the 80s and things like that, I think it was a tail end of a good music scene where you had the specials and you had, you know, the Jam and all that sort of stuff like that, sort of still kicking around. And I think that's music I took to and got into later in life, like straight away. The second my musical direction went guitar based. So yeah, quite strange really. Maybe I was listening to it in the womb and just soaking all these things up for later in life to plan my attack.
Yeah.
On the music game. But yeah, so that was me growing up really. Teenager in the 90s, which was quite a hedonistic time to grow up in. People look at it like that now, really. Sort of a bit like it was the 60s, really. So, you know, sort of socialising, getting out. I can remember sort of getting out to little raves and stuff like that, but I've always felt a little bit too young for that scene. So I moved into listening to hip hop, which I absolutely loved and still like some of it now. But at the time, you had no M&Ms or anyone. I think you had like House of Pain and stuff. But as a white suburban child, you weren't really accepted in them circles then, where you probably are now. But I then remember seeing sort of like Oasis on The Word, I think it was, doing Supersonic, and I thought, yeah, I can have a haircut like that. That's a bit of me, that is. And you know, that's where I went really. But yeah, sort of growing up around them times. After leaving school, I wouldn't have said I did exceptionally well at school. Didn't really understand it, to be honest. Sat in classes just writing sums out and learning all this stuff for no reason, and I just thought, what are we doing? Like, let's just get skateboarding, or let's get, you know, let's get out chatting some girls up or something. And it wasn't really till you leave school when you sort of think of music, English as poetry and music going together to create a song, where you suddenly think, if they tied them in together, I might have taken to it all a little bit more, really. Same with maths and engineering and stuff like that, but they don't, do they? Whether they do now, I don't know. They didn't in our day. So, you know, left school, sort of got out socialising, got out around pubs, clubs, going to festivals, having a good time. Sort of moved on from there, just generally having a good time as a lad, really. And I can always remember going to Magaluf on a week's holiday with my mates, and we had this like booze cruise booked for the next day. Well, that's a great idea. We'll do that. And the night before, it was a bar crawl. So we went out on this bar crawl, got absolutely trolleyed. And then the next day, we're on the booze cruise, clutching onto a San Miguel for dear life. And they're thinking, yeah, we're saving a fortune here. We've done this lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're sailing along, and there was a guy there sat on there, like a club rep, bit of a cheesy club rep. And he had an acoustic guitar, and he was playing Wonderwall. And there's all girls and lads all there just singing along to the tune. And I was just sat there looking at him, and I thought, oh, when I get back from here, I'm going to get myself an acoustic guitar, and I'm going to start learning. And I did. I got back, bought a guitar, learned for a while, then found some like-minded souls, got into a band with them, which was, I think, was the best thing I ever did. Get out of the bedroom, get into a room with other people, get playing, you know, start getting busy together and sort of thinking about it and getting your heads working together. And before you know it, I think I remember one Christmas, a mate of mine said, oh, you'll never do any gigs, you know, you're never going to get out there and play. So I said to the landlady, right, Christmas, do you have us up here? She said, yeah, we'll get you on this day. I woke up the next day and thought, oh, what have I done? But we did the gig, the place was sold out, you couldn't move in there. And I think we got the buzz from that, really. And then off we went. We started playing, like, we went up to Liverpool and played the Cavern, obviously well famous for the Beatles. Went to Camden, which was a great time for music. And back in them days, you had your Pete Doherty's, your Amy Winehouse, the Libertines, all that sort of stuff, after the Britpop thing. So I class that as my era, really, because I was out involved in it. I wasn't looking up at it. I thought, these people are my age. So yeah, really busy sort of 10 years playing around there, and then playing around our local area and building a bit of a fan base up, giving CDs out, writing songs, and just loved it. And that was me.
So when you, from the point that you bought your first guitar, 17 years old, how long were you practicing before you actually formed a band and began, you know, how old were you when you actually played your first gig?
I can remember sort of, but we used to get these, like, I used to get this magazine once a month, used to come through the post, and it would be, learn these 3 riffs, and then it'd teach you a song. And I used to think every month, like, what's it going to be? Is it going to be something good? And it'd turn up, sometimes it'd be stuff I'm not into, but other times it would turn up, it'd be the Charlatans or something. Like, right, yes, straight in there. So I started learning stuff, and I bought a book that taught you lead guitar and stuff. So, you know, every time I got in the evening from work, or I got home from, you know, was hungover or chilling out, I'd just pick the guitar up with the telly on and just let it soak in. And I think maybe a year or so after that, possibly 2 years, I can remember going to see Oasis in Finsbury Park. And a friend of mine, I was trying to get him to get a bass guitar. I'm like, yeah, come on. He said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to buy a drum kit. So I'm like, well, that's even better. We'll have some of that. So we started rehearsing, just the 2 of us in his mum's, like, spare room downstairs, making a racket on a Saturday morning and stuff. But then we went up to Finsbury Park, and we bumped into a couple of old friends of ours from school, a couple of years older than us. And they were doing a similar thing. And I remember watching a choral in the rain, playing Dreaming of You. And, you know, I think they had a joint or something. We had a bit of a joint together in the rain, holding a beer. And we're like, when we get back, we're going to get a band together. And we got back, and we started renting this rehearsal room on a Sunday that basically you could have it all day. So we'd go in there when we'd all roused and got up from the night before, and we'd stay there till 10 o'clock at night, and we'd just come up with ideas, you know, learn some covers and stuff like that. And it just pushed us on massively. And yeah, then we got out there, and we were lucky the whole sort of 2000 scene kicked off just as we were ready to get out gigging. So, you know, venues were looking for support bands and stuff like that. So we managed to get in at, like, the Joiners in Southampton was a favourite haunt of ours and stuff like that. So there was loads of little venues kicking around, and you could jump on support slots for bands, and you could just get out there and put your own nights on. And for me, oh wow, it was just a great time. We were very lucky that people were into what we were into when we came out. So that took me up till then, which is probably my sort of mid to late 20s, really.
Yeah. I remember being, you know, part of that. I remember following the band quite a lot. I remember being quite young and being at your gigs that would just seem to progress and get bigger and bigger every gig you did, and you ended up building quite a following, didn't you?
Yeah, I can remember. I remember at the Joiners they sort of asked us to do their end of year show, which would be quite a big thing because they're not going to just put anyone on that's not going to put a decent night on, because obviously they want to do well for themselves, keep these little sort of grassroots venues open and stuff like that because they need to put successful nights on for that. But we sold it out, and it was great. There's no better feeling than playing a gig like that. You walk up on stage, the lights are down, the smoke machines are on and whatnot, and all you can see is people, and you just think, right, this is the time to shine, really. And the more of them, the merrier. And people start jumping around and enjoying it. That's the next level, and that's what you're looking for, I think. Maybe that buzz and that constant progression from maybe playing little acoustic sets in a corner of a pub to maybe headlining a local venue, and then sort of getting onto some festivals and stuff like that. And it's maybe a constant want to push forward with it, really.
Were you getting paid for these gigs?
Yeah, we were making money, but it wasn't really about that, to be honest. As I was sort of going back to you before, for me, success isn't really about money. If I was to bump into someone in the street and say, "Oh, how's your son?" First thing I wouldn't say is how much money, how much has he got in his bank account.
Yeah,
I'd say, "Oh, is he still with whoever? Is he happy? Is he enjoying his life?" And if they said, "Yeah, he's really loving life," I'd say, "Brilliant." And that would be what I'd want from the conversation.
yeah,
Really. Maybe that's just my outlook. I don't know if everybody thinks like that, but
yeah. I think it's a great way to be. I think the question around making money from your music really was more geared around how how people can be inspired to go out and do the same thing, because
yeah,
I'm not thinking of it as a oh yeah, go and create a band and go and make loads of money, but the fact that you can get a night out with your mates, get a few quid in your pocket, and go out for a few drinks afterwards. I mean, that
was it. Yeah,
that was the life, wasn't it? Back
yeah.
then?
To sort of play, for example, if we'd play the Joiners and we'd put a decent night on there, they might chuck us a crate of beers or something like that, and then you'd make your money off the tickets on the door as well. And what we'd tend to do is, if one of us was sensible enough and didn't just end up buying a few rounds of drinks with it, is chuck that money in a kitty, and then that will pay for your next recording sessions. So then you go, "Oh, we're doing, we've got X amount, 100 quid saved up now. Right, let's book in, and then we'll record another EP or something like that." So all your money that you were making was sort of getting invested back into it, really. I've always thought if you want to make money out of playing music, be a DJ, because people always chuck a DJ hundreds of pounds to stand there playing other people's stuff. Then,
oh yeah,
but they get 6 musicians turn up and they're like, "That's expensive,"
yeah.
But no, we've always made money out of it. But it wasn't the aim of it. It's sort of to run itself, and to be able to record your stuff in studios with the money you've made from your gigs, and then create your own CDs at the times, put it on like MySpace and things as it was then, wasn't it? And to be able to just progress. Maybe, I suppose, you're looking at it as a band, as a business, really, if you look at it through them sort of eyes. But, all getting that enjoyment out of it and pushing things forward. So that's what we did. With all the money that we made, we would put it back into ourselves and maybe get T-shirts printed and things like that, So it's quite a little clever way of sort of not having to pay for all that stuff yourself, really.
Yeah.
Other nights we'd probably squander it over the bar, but who spent the money? I don't know. But, it was all part of the night out for us, really, and I think we just buzzed off the whole scene, meeting other musicians in bands, getting to know other promoters, other venues, and then going, "Oh yeah, I know someone that's got that club, and you can get up there if you want." And yeah, wicked. Let's take a minibus and get all our mates up and have a good time, sort of thing.
I'm interested to know about writing music, the process for writing music, and how how that happens. Because I'm assuming, I think that you're a songwriter, you're still writing songs.
Yeah,
now.
I like to think so. Yeah.
Where does that process start? Because obviously we just hear the end product. How does it all begin? Where does that kind of come from?
I think you just sort of collect thoughts as you go along, really. Something might happen, or sometimes just a lyric will come into your head, or you'll just be humming a tune and you just think, "I've got to get that down." So, you just jot it down, or you put it down on your notes on your phone or something like that. And then you get home and you think, "Right, I'll pick that acoustic up." For me, I've always written songs on acoustic guitars, really. That's the bare bones of it. Pick up an acoustic, get a track down, you know, and then take it to the musicians in the band and say, well, I think it should go a bit like this. I think we should have, it may change. You might put a break in there or your little drum break or something like that. But I think it sort of walks along hand in hand with you. With me, it has done. Since I've got into it, as I say, I didn't see myself as like some top of the class English student at school or anything. But I think once you get out and you get to 18 and you start to leave school and you start to see the real world and you start socialising in pubs and things like that and you get to know people. You know, I can remember writing a track years ago called Davy Jones. I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember
from the
it
days.
well.
And it was based on my local pub, but it was based on several characters becoming one character, you know? Everyone knows Davy Jones, he props up the bar by the telephone. Yeah. And it was about a guy that used to always stand in that same spot by the phone with his pint, but he was a bit of a wheeler dealer sort of guy. And, you know, you just get that idea and then you come out and you just start penning it and see where it goes and you come up with a progression and then you're like, you know, you can sew it up in that 3 minutes. That's the idea of writing a pop song or whatever you want to call it. You've only got to get from there to there. It's not like writing a book. So I'm giving my secrets away here.
No, I like it. I like it.
But just for me, from getting from A to B, you know, and once you learn the basics of songwriting, the little light bulb goes off and you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I think in the early days, we just used to jingle a few chords around and just think they sounded all right. Once you start learning how it should work a little bit, but you still not got to be Mozart to sort of put a good pop song together. Sometimes the easy songs are the best, quite often, to be honest.
I always imagined it to be a bunch of people sat in a room, all like pondering over different chords and different lyrics. But what you're saying is it's like less formal than that. You're like, oh, I like that little lyric, so I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
And then you get home and you just jingle around with the guitar. I like that little riff. I like that little chord progression. And then you just slowly but surely put everything together.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, sometimes you're writing about stuff in your life. You're writing about events that have happened. Maybe not quite so direct as that, but there might be a few lyrics in there that are really personal to you, you know? And you just got to get it down. And that's your way of getting it off your chest, is to put it in a 3-minute song with an acoustic guitar and then sort of take it from there, really. You know, I mean, in my first band, I mean, there was a songwriting partnership between me and my friend, you know, and we tried to get a singer in because we didn't want to sing to start off with. No one was really doing it at the time. It was the end of the Britpop and there was not much going on, and then we didn't know what was coming next, but we were doing it. We tried to get some singers in and it wasn't really happening. So in the end, we were a bit like, I've written this one. I know how it goes. I'm going to sing it. And all right, well, you work out some lead guitar for it. And then he'd say, well, I've got this tune. And I'd say, okay, well, I'd play the lead. And then, you know, we sort of bounced off each other. But with what I'm doing now, I sort of my main plan was to set out and see what I could do myself as just a solo songwriter. So I'm like, right, it's going to be my songs, you know, this is how it's going to go. And we'll build up a set of songs and then we'll see where we go from there. If we start to write songs in rehearsal, so be it. But to start off with, I want to get a solid set up together of things that I'm quite proud of and I think work. So it's not just a mismatch of music.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there a time and a place for this? So when you're songwriting, I'm assuming, you know, being creative, you need to be in the right mindset. Like you can't, again, I'm making assumptions here because I don't know, but I'm assuming you can't come in from a really stressful day at work and sit down and think, I'm going to write a song. I have to write a song now. Is it something that you plan? Right, I'm going to do a little songwriting session tonight, or is it just something that happens?
It can be something that happens. You can just something can just come into your head in a day, or you can just hum a tune to yourself, and you think, oh yeah, that worked like that. So when you get home, you pick the guitar up and you just suss it out, and you put that on the back burner for a little bit, and then you come up with a lyric, and you think, I'll tell you what, that's going to work really well, and then you sort of work on, you know, getting your choruses down and stuff like that. But other times, you can just get together, or you can just pick a guitar up. You can hit a couple of chords out of the blue. You just come and pick the guitar up on the sofa, and you're off, and it just works. So, you know, but yeah, subject matter tends to be personal, really, for me a lot of the time. Everyone writes the odd song that means absolutely nothing, but sometimes people like that one, and it's just, it doesn't have to, does it? Not everything's got to be personal, but
Yeah, I've always been curious about it because I've always been fascinated. I'm a big music fan. I've always been fascinated by the process of writing music, and I always wondered if it was, like putting yourself in a position, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, but putting myself in a position where I'm like, right, I've got to write a song.
Yeah, that's
I,
maybe putting too much pressure on
yeah,
yourself a little bit.
and that's what I'm like. I would find that really difficult to then go, okay, how I can't get creative because I'm putting the pressure on myself to
That
write
must
it.
be, that's why I think I've always liked bands' first albums, because they've written them at a time where they're just doing it naturally. Once they get that record deal and the label's saying, right, by September, you've got to have another album out and 2 more singles, they're maybe having to sort of like do it because they're on the pressure to do it. And the first albums are always great because they're just writing about what they know and they're just getting together with their mates and seeing how it turns out. And then it's natural. When you've got the pressure on you, I think that's when it might push you to another level. You never know, but it might also make you produce something that's not.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely right.
You know,
Like the amount of bands that I'm really into. When I think about all the bands that I really, really like, the majority of them, their first album's my favorite.
yeah, very much so. You know, but also sometimes maybe people get into bands, they don't know their history of that band. They get into them on their third album, and then that's the one they cherish because it's all about that moment sometimes of finding something new as well, isn't it? And like that wow feeling where you're like, this is for me. But I mean, yeah, I know songwriters that they write album after album, they got stuff stacked up. That would freak me out. If I had too many songs written, I'd be having a breakdown because I'd want to get them in rehearsals and get them out. So I've always more one of them people that feels the band's catching up with me, and I tend to keep a couple of songs up my sleeve that I'm happy with, you know. And then I'll turn up at rehearsals and see like, right, I've got this new one. I think it's going to work. This is how I feel it should go. We'll have a little bit at the start where this is the intro, blah blah blah. Then we'll bring the drums in. What do you want to play? And then we'll just suss it out between us. But as a band now, we're a free piece, and they sort of always say, two's company, three's a crowd. But personally, I think free works great in a band. Works great, really does. You sort of bounce off each other, and you've all got to fight your corner because you've got nowhere to hide. You've got one drummer, you've got one bass player, you've got one guitarist who's singing, and it's like you've got to be on your A game, or there's no one to cover your ass, sort of thing.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
yeah.
So first band, then you're doing all this amazing stuff. London gigs and Cavern in Liverpool. I think I remember a couple of festivals thrown in there as well.
Yeah.
What happened? Like because you seem to be like flying on the crest of a wave a little bit.
Yeah, there's only so long you can maybe do that for, but you've got to enjoy that journey. And I think we enjoyed that journey for quite a lot of years due to the fact we were always trying to push forward. We were always trying to, find new places to play and like, oh yeah, what if we do this? We can get to there. And it's like a roadmap, and you're trotting along this unending sort of never-ending roadmap in England. And saying that, I think we probably did get to a bit of a point where we sort of felt like, everybody was growing up. Your mates were growing up, your following were growing up. It gets to a stage where it's not so easy to sort of get the people to your gigs. When you're 20, 21, everyone's up for it whenever. When you get to 30, 31, people are like, oh, I can't get a babysitter, mate. Or, we were off that weekend camping or something like that. And it's like, okay, you've got to start trying to find your audience. And for me, I suddenly had kids, my friend in the band's at similar sort of time. And I think we sort of felt ship had run its course, really. You don't want to just fade away, do you? You're still doing that. It's like, we've got as far as we can get with this, and let's leave that where it is. So we did. And, we just cut it off. And, some people didn't continue, others did continue. And, we ended up for a few years, we sort of, because money was tight as well. I say money's not everything, but on the other hand, you've got kids growing up. There was a bit of a recession going on at the time. Everything was rocketing. So, you've got to use your assets to make some cash, haven't you? So we formed like a bit of a covers band, and we ended up with like a brass section and some guys in, and we went out and we were playing events and scooter rallies for mods and stuff like that. And, you know, walking home with 150 quid in your pocket, 100 quid in the pocket, and at the end of the night was useful cash. Yet we were still getting to do what we loved, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was always dubious of doing it because I always thought, for me, it's always been about creative and writing songs, not playing other people's songs. But yeah, we enjoyed that journey for a few years, but it was only a few years. It covered a period of time when we sort of needed it, and it kept you doing what you loved as well.
Yeah.
So that was great.
How did it feel? How did it feel when that original kind of setup stopped? The time when you went, boys, you know, we've got to move on from this.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Yeah, I was probably gutted, really, even though I was probably one of the ones saying it. You know, where we're going now. We've done our bit. We've run our course, really. You know, let's just enjoy it for what it was, and their memories, because that's what you look back on. You look back on the gigs and say, "Oh, I remember when we played at the Cavern and this happened," or "Remember when we were in London doing this," or in Southampton, and you know, we supported that band. That was a great night out. It was all maybe as much about the great night out, but the music thing too was the main thing. But just all the memories, and I think, as I said to you earlier, like that life is about memories, isn't it? Really, it's all about that. You know, if you're going to spend 60 hours stuck in a office pulling your hair out trying to make a business work, that's not living to me, and that's not success to me. It might be to some people, fair play to them, but it's not to me. It's all about, you know, getting out, doing stuff, and sort of, to coin a phrase, I suppose, making memories. That's what people say these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it is true. It's true. And
it's a brave decision as well, right? Like, as in, it's a brave decision to say, enough's enough. We've got to move on, because a lot of people might have just wanted to cling on to that for as long as possible.
yeah, I've known of other bands to do a similar sort of thing, really, and to sort of cling on to it, really. But then people sort of, I don't know, it dies out, doesn't it? It does. You're better to burn out than to fade away. You know,
Yeah.
This is a true quote, to use that one, but it's very true. But
Yeah.
It's very true.
So then you move on, do your covers band for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Again, like it's weird because I think of it as a completely different band, but it was mainly the same people in the band.
It was myself and Rich, a good friend, but the rest of us, yeah, I suppose we took a drummer with us who came in later anyway.
Yeah.
But that was more his sort of thing, to do that sort of covery side of it. But yeah, we got a friend in on bass who was good, and we had the brass guys come in, and that was great. Just what a feeling that was, playing with a brass section. I can remember we played the opening night of what was formerly Martine's in Eastleigh, and we had a bit of a battle between us and the Novatones of who was going to headline it. You know, chests were out, and it was like, who's going to do this? And we ended up meeting in a pub with them and sort of duking it out, really, with words of who was going to be the headliner, and it turned out to be us in the end. And yeah, that was a night to play a place where you'd had many a night out as a young lad, like young adult, sorry, and to be up on that stage and playing there was quite a surreal feeling, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good one. But yeah. After that, really, for me, it was just all about getting back to what I love, which is writing songs, and you know, getting them across to people. Your natural thing as a musician, for me, not to sit in your bedroom and write an album and then not play it to anybody or to not share it with anybody. You know, you've got to like the songs that you've written first. If you're just writing a lot of stuff you think people will like, but not what you will like, you're doing it wrong in my eyes. You've got to write stuff that makes you tick, gets your heart racing, and you think, I want to take that out to people. I want to share it with people.
Yeah.
If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But, you know, that's what you've got to be doing. So that's what it's all been about. And getting back on track with sort of what I was doing when I was younger, with maybe slightly mature head on at times, you know.
Yeah.
And,
how did the digitalization of music, how did that affect what you were doing? Because you kind of lived right through that, didn't you? I remember, you know, your first gigs, you were literally handing CDs out to people. And
that's right. It was all about getting your music across to people in that respect, and just saying, look, stick this on in your car on the way to work, or Friday afternoon when you're going home buzzing for the weekend. And you know, then people would come to the gigs and enjoy it, and the songs had soaked in with them, really. But yeah, you were sort of doing that, or selling CDs if you could. You maybe sell a couple, maybe give a couple away, you know, balance it out. Depends what people are up for. But I think the digitalisation of music, really, now, will enable you to get across to a wider audience. I think that's the main thing. The only thing with for bigger bands at this stage, I think, you know, the Spotify and stuff, I don't think they make a massive amount out of it, bands, unfortunately. But it gives them that exposure, so it can push them on to playing in different countries and stuff like that. And to, you know, if you give a CD to a guy in the local pub, that's great. The way with the online thing is you can get your music across to somebody around the other side of the world, and they can message you back these days and say, "Oh, I'm loving that song. I'm absolutely loving that song." And you know, I suppose that's the benefit of it. I still think it's really, really important for people to buy music. I mean, I've been going to a few in stores recently. I went to see one in Southampton, and it was John Power from Cast. I don't know if you remember them from the Britpop days.
Yeah.
And I managed to blag myself a ticket for that one with my wife's friend, actually. My wife was sort of like, "Yeah, someone's offered me to go to that." I'm like, "Nah, it's not for you. I'm going." He's one of my heroes. So I managed to get in for that one. And they done a little live acoustic set in the record store, you know, and people pre-order the album to get in, which gets people buying music. And you know, vinyl's got massive now. Everyone's into vinyl, and, you know, these coloured discs and stuff. And I think it's great. The band sign them for you in an in-store. I'd love to do something like that myself one day, really. Do a little in-store or something like that. And, you know, it's great for growing your fan base, but it's also intimate, isn't it? And it gets people buzzing about music again, which is all it's all about, because, you know, do people listen to albums like they used to? They should do. An album, you buy it, you're looking at the lyrics, and sometimes people put the chords in and stuff. I used to do that. Pick up a Blur album or a Libertines album, and there'd be the chords in there, and you'd sit at home and think, "Oh, I can suss that one out." You know, what a great thing to do. It's all about getting people creative and into it,
You
isn't
don't get
it?
that anymore, though, do you? You get that
Not
on
so much.
Spotify, and it
Yeah,
mixes your
yeah.
tracks up, and you end up listening to 4 albums at once.
Yeah, and you say to people, you know, "Oh yeah, I've got one of them tracks on my playlist." Well, that's you've got to accept that's the way it's gone a little bit. You know, of my young lad, if I put a song on in the car and he's like, "When are they going to start it?" I'm like, "No, this is the intro, mate. It's the little guitar bit at the start. This is the best bit." And they're like, "Now, when do the lyrics come in, and when's it going to hit the chorus and end?" I think people just all want these days. They want short, sharp. You know, onto the next one.
Yeah.
Maybe not soaking it in. Might be wrong, but just, you know, different generations, isn't it? I suppose you just got to accept things evolve.
Yeah, exactly. So then when you do your covers band for a little bit, obviously family starts to come around this sort of time as well.
Yeah. That was sort of through that period, really, because, as I say, it was quite a good way of doing what you enjoy, getting out, getting the buzz of it, and also earning a bit of cash to sort of pay the way, really. So that was quite good. But you know, as time starts to come back to you, your kids will get a little bit less dependent on you. You get more and more time to do what you want to do. Now, that time that you get, it's down to you what you want to use it for. You know, everybody's going to suddenly start being really careful. When you're young, you've got so much time, so you might do a bit of everything all the time. You know, dabbling and going out, dabbling in and, oh yeah, go down the gym. Or for me, first thing I want to do is pick the guitar up and get creative and start getting my songs out there. There was a time when I didn't really have time to do it as I am now, you know.
So I'm assuming that period was when your kids were young and you were off doing family stuff at the weekends.
It was. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and just sort of like fitting in the sort of the gigs as and when. But
so you still had your band running then?
I still have a different band running. Yeah, I'm sort of like, you know, it's a bit like people that can't not be in a relationship, innit? I've got to always be doing something musical.
Yeah,
it's got to be in the background. What level it's at. It depends on how things move, and how much time you got. But, you know, as I say, the older you get, I think you've got to just realise that it's all about making time for what makes you tick, and not giving your time to things that don't make you tick. If it's not making you happy, you're not enjoying it, well, life's too short to sort of waste your time on that, you know. Yeah. So here we are now after a couple of years, and we obviously had a pandemic, which we were kind of getting ready to sort of start something up, and then that kicked in and just stopped life for everybody and every band. But I think music's come back harder since then now. You know, there's bands everywhere, young kids coming out and wanting to emulate their heroes and whatnot. And, you know, Glastonbury sells out in seconds, doesn't it? And things like that. So,
what do you think COVID did for music? Because I'm wondering whether it was a period where people had nothing better to do than sit at home writing music. I mean, what did you? What
Yeah, I did pen some songs during there, but also I was just sort of doing stuff on Instagram. Really, you know, you were doing all your stuff. I personally found the first lockdown very liberating. You got people that were like, "Oh my god, it was driving me insane." But for me, it was the first time where I felt like I had a lot of time to myself, and the weather was fantastic, wasn't it? And for me, to start off with, it was like, all right, keep the family moving, keep everyone doing what they're doing, keep people happy. But you had a little bit of time each day you could sort of give to, right, I'm going to get down and get that idea down, and I'm going to start putting that tune and pushing that tune forward. You know, so it was quite a creative time. You know, there's people out in their gardens building sheds and doing rockeries and things they'd never had time to do, and they were getting creative, weren't they? You were online, and it was like your mates on Facebook doing this. You're like, oh, you know, brilliant. People were starting to think the day to day that I'm used to,
yeah.
it's not where I'm at now, and I'm starting to become a different person. I'm starting to evolve and be creative, which I thought was a great time in that. But yeah, I mean, it was great in that respect. But I mean, from my own point of view, it come to a point where my sister passed away during lockdown, just totally out of the blue, really.
Jeez.
And I think we were all in our own little bubbles and stuff like that. And then that happened and just went bang. And it was just, well, you can't really comprehend something like that, can you? With somebody losing a family member that you've been so close to. So yeah, that stopped a lot of us in our tracks, really. I think I got made redundant from the job that I was in at the same time as well.
Oh,
So, but to be honest, that didn't really bother me at all, because a job's a job. You find another job, but you can't find another family member, can you? And that's the one you can't come back from, really. But yeah, so
so how did you come back from it?
uh, by being supportive with your family, by pulling together a little bit, getting through it and keeping an eye on each other, and yet again, through music, really. I mean, picking up your guitar and getting your feelings down, taking things off your chest and stuff like that. Excuse me. You know, sort of pouring your heart out on the guitar, really, stuff like that. And you know, you just got to push forward. That's life, and it changes your outlook as well. As I was saying before, it's not just all about, you know, burying your head in the sand life, is it? It's about using your time wisely and organising your life so you've got things to look forward to, not getting lost in the fog, because we all do. I mean, for me, the winter time, I like the idea of it. When it comes round after 2 weeks, I've had enough of it. And you know, just like now, where spring's coming round and summer's coming out, that's all a bit of me, really. And being able to get out, and thinking, as English people, the second the sun comes out, you know, we're walking out the road with 24 lagers under our arm, aren't we? And the barbecue pack, and we're like, come on, this is life. And you know, I think you just got to sort of like push forward and make the most of that time. And that's definitely that was a real pivotal point for me, really. Losing somebody that I love, and having to, you know, and just sort of thinking to yourself, you get to a stage where, you know, the grief sort of slips away a bit, but you always think about them. But you also think that you've got to make the most of your life, whatever you've got, you know, next 20, 30 years or whatever, you know, might make it to 100. Strange things have happened, but, you know, get out there and do more of what you enjoy, you know.
What do you think? What do you think changed for you after that happened? Like, from a mindset perspective, you know, where did you go after that?
Definitely changed my attitude to work. You know, I mean, obviously being a musician, parallel to that, I'm a welder as a day job. I got into that when I was sort of 20 odd, got a bit of a trade behind me, because I've sort of thought I better pull my socks up here, or I'm not going to be able to earn enough cash to do the things I want to do. You know, not all about putting every penny away, but you've got to have something that's going to push your life forward, haven't you? You know, and so I got into that, but I've always worked for companies where you're on the cards. So they give you 20 days holiday, You come in at this time, you're not allowed to leave till the minute that happens, you know. So after lockdown, after my sister had passed away, been made redundant, I got a job in a company in Portsmouth. And I lasted 3 months. It was a big firm. I've always been pretty reliable and dedicated to whatever I do. I'll always stick it out. Not someone that just like, oh, that's not for me, burn them off. I'll always give it a good go. But after 3 months, I just thought, I feel like a bit of a chained animal here, really. And this was through the winter time as well, so you weren't seeing much daylight. And this is the second lockdown. So there was no furlough. It was, you've got to get a job, because you're not working for somebody anymore. You weren't getting any furlough. So the first one and the second one, the sequel wasn't as good as the original in my eyes. I think a lot of people felt like that. But yeah, after 3 months, I just went in one day and they said, look, we haven't got a massive amount on, but, just try and puddle through the day. And I thought, time to make a decision. So I said, look, this ain't for me. Thanks a lot. Took my gear, got out of there, got straight on the phone, rung up, registered myself as self-employed. Had some contacts, rung up some people from the past, and set myself up and went out on my own, really, as a subcontractor, which for me has been the best thing I could ever have done, because you're your own boss. You work when you want to work. Obviously, we play the game in our trade where jobs have to get out the door. So it's not about, big job comes in, I'm taking next week off, mate, going to paint the house. It's it's you've got to play the game a little bit, but you've got the flexibility to be able to just sort of say something comes up like a trip to Margate to meet the Libertines and an overnight stay for a couple of nights, midweek. I'm not going to be in, mate. This has come up. I'll be there, but I'll be back in Monday with a story to tell. And that being your own boss gives me the flexibility to say, if I want to do a gig or I want to do something like that, or, something like this comes up, I'm going to be there because I'm going to put them things as my priority. See, work to live and fund your, the things that make you happy, really.
Yeah. Do you think you'd have left that job if you hadn't have gone through what you went through previous to that? Like I'm just kind of thinking from a mindset perspective. You've gone through this traumatic time. You're doing a lot of reflecting and thinking about life because your sister was young. Do you get to a point where you're like, maybe 5 years ago you might have just struggled through and
I think so. I think I would, because once you've got something, you tend to, okay, this will do. This will work, sort of thing. It definitely changed my mindset. Absolutely changed my mindset. As I say, I felt like a bit of a caged animal, and I just thought I want the freedom to do what I want when I want to do it, and to not feel like and to get out and get about and do different work in different places, and to just some of the songs I've written are about getting away from the summertime and stuff like that, and jumping on planes and jumping on trains and having a good time. And doing, there's nothing better than going to Spain or somewhere, is there? And sitting under a palm tree with a cocktail and just thinking, bloody hell, England's hard work. The more of that, the merrier. Yeah. And the more gigs, the merrier. And the more recording, the more music, the merrier. And just getting that balance in life where you think, I'm enjoying everything.
You wrote a song about that, didn't you?
I've written a song, yeah. Empty Cans, yeah. Would you like me to play it?
Yeah, do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, of course, yeah, no problem.
Take it away.
Thank you. I might not be a millionaire, but if we shared a cab, oh, I'd pay the fare. Tropical lands, I can't take you there, but if you needed me, I'd always be there. I'd rather die with a head full of memories than a heart full of broken plans. Too many broken plans. Still we can get away for the summertime. Just jump on a train and go and see some sights. 'Cause you're my girl, my love, my only one. I'll be there for you, here for you tonight. Empty cans and one-night stands, moonlit walks, oh, we're making plans. Late night talks, for hours we thought that things won't change, another walk of shame. I'd rather die with a head full of memories than a heart full of broken plans. Too many broken plans. Still we can get away for the summertime. Just jump on a plane and go and see some sights. 'Cause you're my girl, my love, my only one. I'll be there for you, here for you tonight. I'll be there for you, here for you tonight. Tonight, tonight, tonight. Drunken cheers, end in tears, happy times or your hopes and fears. Pause for thought, pick up your foolish pride. I'm lost at sea, swimming against the tide. I'd rather die with a head full of memories than a heart full of broken plans. Too many broken plans. Still we can get away for the summertime. Just jump on a train and go and see some sights. 'Cause you're my girl, my love, my only one. I'll be there for you, here for you tonight. I'll be there for you, here for you tonight. Tonight, tonight, tonight.
What a tune. Thanks for that, Jay.
Thank you, no problem.
So what was next then? What happened? So, you know, you've kind of gone through this period, you've gone through lockdown, you know, the unfortunate situation with your sister and your job, and you found this new lease of life and freedom with your, you know, with the world of welding and the world of self-employment. What happened next?
We had the opportunity to start lining some gigs up, really, because, you know, you had all the mask wearing and all the 2 meters business and stuff like that. Bands were doing some strange gigs where people were in little crates apart from each other in their little bubbles and stuff. And like, you look at it now, you think, Jesus, that was crazy, don't you? I think it probably put a lot of anxiety onto a lot of people. Not everybody dealt with it the same way. Some people will soldier through anything, others won't. But yeah, it just gave us the real hunger to start again and to get out there and get your music across to people. You know, you meet some like-minded souls, you know, and you're either in it or you're not. You've had people come to rehearsals and stuff and they're like, oh, I'm quite happy to come along and play drums, but I don't want to do any gigs. Well, look, mate, I love you, but that's not what we're looking for. We want people that are going to work on our wavelength, and we're all going to work together, and we're all going to be a team. Because when you're a songwriter and you take songs to a band, they're your baby sometimes, and you can easily get a little bit lost in your own head where you're just like, right, this is me, this is me. You've got to sort of think, hang on, it's got to be about all of us, and everybody does their bit. Otherwise, teamwork, I hate to say the phrase, teamwork makes the dream work. Is that the one, is it?
Yeah.
But I think just like if you can get on the same level, that's when you become powerful. When you're all fighting against each other, that's when it doesn't work so much. So yeah, I feel like we're all getting on a bit of a level together. And to book some gigs up. I mean, like I say, we got back to the Joiners in Southampton. I managed to get us on a gig there with another local band who were sort of just running towards the end of their cruise, really, and their time, and they were just wrapping things up. One more gig after that, really, but we managed to get on to the Joiners with them, and just between the two of us, sold the night out. And I can remember doing the sound check, and we were all chatting and stuff, and I was like, okay, right, I'm going to go and drop my car off. I'm going to get a cab back down so I can have a few beers afterwards and stuff. And I went home and got a cab back down. And I walked into the venue and into the bar, and you couldn't move. And I was like, excuse me, mate, excuse me. And I walked into the music bit, and it was packed. And then, you know, thought, I haven't done this for a little while of this level, but it's a sink or swim, isn't it? And for me, it was swim. I think you've got to try, at least try and swim against the tide. So yeah, we walked in, and like you say, it was only the two bands we were first on, sort of maybe 8:45, 9 o'clock. People had had a few drinks, and it was a good local crowd, and it was everything we sort of hoped for, really. You know, maybe if we'd come back and played a gig and it fell on its arse, you know, you've got to sort of dust yourself off, because it happens. I've all played gigs and you come away from them and you've worked really hard for it, and you think, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
You know, and you thought it was going to be great, but this got us off on the right foot, and gave us a trajectory to sort of build on, really. Yeah, and we've gone on from there. I mean, there was four of us in the band to start off with, and one of our band members was finding it all too much for him, really fitting it in amongst family, work, blah, blah, blah. That's his thing. At the end of the day, you'd rather know that and say, look, mate, are you all right? Yeah, I just need to get out of it. Okay, cool. Well, what are we going to do? And then the lads are a bit like, well, we need to get another bass player. I'm like, no, we don't. We've got three of us here. Let's sort of diversify a little bit, because we've been doing this a couple of years together. We're all on the same level. We get someone else in, it might not work, and we've wasted 6 months. We've waited a year. Time isn't on our sides for this. We're ready to go. So we've sort of spent the winter in the studio, rehearsing our new songs, writing new songs, rehearsing the old stuff, and recording stuff in the studio, which has got us to a point now where we've just released the first few tracks on Spotify, which for a group of people maybe not from that generation of online stuff, we're all like hands-on people. Here's a CD written on the front cover what it is, you know, with a marker pen. That's how you get music across to people. Now in a position where we're sort of setting ourselves up, and we've had some good radio play recently on some local stations, which has been great. Which is the great thing with social media, I think, is that it's all there for you. Whether people listen to you is another thing, but you can message whoever you want. I could send a message to Beyonce now and say, do you want to do a country track together? You know, whether she'd read it's another thing, but whether I'd want to do it's kind of a thing. But, you know, you just as a sort of, but you can reach out to whoever you want.
Yeah.
And I've had to get a little bit sort of like, you got this baby you're proud of, you chuck that song out to someone with a link to it, and then they just talk to you, and then they don't message you back, and you think, you could easily take that on, you know, and sort of think, oh, damn. But you've got to be proud of what you do. You've got to believe in what you do. And for all the knocks and kicks, there's a few kisses down the line, I think.
I like that. There's something I'm really interested in kind of getting into for a couple of minutes, if we can, is you're a little bit older than me, right? We're in our 40s. We've gone through this kind of transition of, you know, being, like you said earlier, being young 20s, just wanting to live the life, wanting to live that exactly, musician's life. And I think it's really, really rare to have somebody like yourself that has just continued to keep going. Like, you know, The Reason, which was your first band, that was the band that was going to make it, right? That was the band that everyone was hyped about. That was the band that everyone was like. And then, like you say, you kind of get to a point, you get to your peak, you play at the Cavern, you play a few gigs in London, you know, you get a really nice following, merch going. I've still got my Reason t-shirt home somewhere. And then you kind of get to the realization of, you know, we're not getting any younger boys. You know, we're all starting to have families. Let's just cash in on this a little bit and go do a cover band, you know, and go down that route. And then
a bit less pressure, really.
Yeah, and then that all comes to an end. You know, again, people are getting older. careers are starting to come into it. People are spending more time in their day job.
Yeah,
And
I think we all got a little bit like that. I think
yeah,
everyone can get a bit like that and start to think about their work. Right, okay, I've got to support the family. Let's
yeah,
focus on the day to day. I've got to become something really. I think people can get a little bit like that. But then for me, you're taking your eye off the prize a little bit.
yeah. But I
That's not
think,
saying that, I've always been a reliable worker and I've always had my ideas of making enough money to build my future, but it's not the be all and end all. Once I leave there, I'm forgotten about it and I'm on to, my family, my music, and the things that make us and me tick, really.
yeah, I think there's real power in the fact that you've been relentless in your pursuit for your passion, you know. And you know, I think it's great. Like, now, like, listening to your band now, listening to the tunes that you've got now, the latest, right, is
That's
your
the
band
latest,
name.
yeah, yeah.
Listening to the songs, I mean, it just throws back so many memories. And like the songs you played us today, you can tell the passion's still there. There's, you can't just pick up a guitar and write a song like that without feeling it, And I feel like there's definitely a lesson here for people to. We get so tied up in our daily lives. We get so tied up in all the social media bullshit that we see on a day-to-day basis, and I think there's a real lesson for people here that you've got to take time for the things that you're passionate about, and I think you're a really good example of how to do that. Like the fact that you've just, and like you say, like it's come with its knockbacks. It's come with years of putting effort into something that you did some great things, but there was so much more that you could have done that you didn't
Mm,
quite get to, and a lot of people would have just gone, this ain't working. I'm just gonna drop it. But
yeah.
I'm certainly learning a little bit from you. This podcast, I still find like, this is our 11th episode now. Which is nothing. But I'm still looking at the social media. I'm still looking at the people that are listening to it, going, "Oh man, like, come on! I want more than that."
Yeah, but
And
that's the journey. You've got to push forward, haven't you? Um,
it can be a real detractor though. It can like almost feel like a kick in the
do
balls.
you know what? One thing I've sort of found about myself in life, the more people tell me you can't do that, is the more I want to do it. And the more, and that, if somebody sort of says, with your band, you could really be doing this, and you don't spend enough time trying to push yourself, you know, into the right circles and stuff like that. I don't know. Okay, right. Let's get my head down and let's navigate a path, and let's get chatting to some promoters and get some good gigs, and let's line up stuff we're going to be proud of, because there's a few exciting things coming up that I've got bubbling away. We're playing a local music festival next weekend, which I'm buzzing about. We played it a couple of years back when we first started as a 4-piece band. We're going back to play it in a couple of weekends' time. We've got another local festival. They're great ones for just getting us out there live again, really, as a 3-piece, not as a 4-piece. And then we're getting back to the sweaty venues, really. I think it's called Suburbia in Southampton. To the old heads, it would be classed as Lennon's.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, many a night down there,
yeah,
with the Dorchester opposite, which is sadly gone. Used to go in there and then go across and have a great night and have a band in there. So I'm buzzing about getting back in there in a month or so's time. I'm going to start promoting that one. Still banging on the door to get in at the Joiners, and I'm looking to sort something great out for the end of the year. Still in the Southampton area, but at a venue that for me is the one.
What are you
So
what are you hoping to get out of this next phase? Like the 3-piece, the latest. You're writing great songs. You're doing great gigs. What's the end goal?
just to keep achieving, really, to get onto some bigger and better gigs. I mean, you just never know where you're going to go. If someone might pick up on some of your tracks, you know, to just grow. I mean, my plan is to get to the end of this year and keep within the South area, and next year, push it from January and sort of try and navigate a path into playing some different areas and getting onto some bigger festivals, and maybe supporting some of my heroes. That'd be good.
Mm.
If you're out there, John Power from Cast, I was at 1997. I was at Southampton Guildhall. still got the hat to show it. So, you know, maybe try and get on supporting some of them sort of bands and just see who we can get chatting to, see who likes your music and who takes to you really. Because as I say, it's a different world to when we started, where it was handing out CDs and it was very hard to, you know, to first off to sort of break out of that little shell. Now there's a whole world of social media out there, you know, and Instagram and stuff like that, which is a good one. We're trying to sort of build that up a little bit now. Try and get the right people following you, really.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fake sort of profiles out there where people have got. I saw one yesterday, and it was an AI girl. Have you seen this?
No.
It's not even a real person. And there was 90,000 followers for a model that isn't even a model. It's, unless I'm missing something here, like what are people doing? That it's not even like life's. It's not even a real thing. It's been created online, you know. I mean,
I think there are definitely advantages to social media, and I think you know you've got to find the balance, don't you? Because you can get so tied up in it. I mean, I do it myself, mate. I find myself, and it's usually on Southampton Football Club Facebook posts, and I find myself reading the comments from so-called fans, and I find myself getting so angry about what people are saying, and I you know, I've just got to put it down and walk away.
yeah, I can't.
Because I could spend hours getting into all different arguments with all different people I've never met in my life.
That's not me. I can't be doing with that really.
But you know, this is the life that we live in now, isn't it? This is what people are doing.
Unfortunately, keyboard warriors, really, aren't they? Keyboard warriors at home, and you know, it's it's a shame. With everything in life, where there's great stuff like AI could maybe help medicine fantastically, and brought back a Beatles track, which I thought was great at the time. But people are going to start exploiting all these things, aren't they? And there's going to be bad stuff coming out of it. So, you know, you've got to sort of accept with everything that comes out that's great and pushes lives on. It also causes a lot of hassle. You know, same with the social media thing, you know, it's tough for children and stuff these days. They're being expected to look a certain way, dress a certain way, and always be living, I don't know, I hate to coin the phrase, living their best life sort of thing. Where to me, that's always been, like, I've always been a living the dream person. You know, you walk in the co-op and the guy's behind the counter and you say, "You all right, mate?" And yeah, living the dream, you? And you're like, yeah, living the dream. It's that's the English way, isn't it? We say it with a sense of irony, but living my best life is like a, you know, sort of polished up version of that, really, isn't it? And I think kids maybe have got to sort of feel that they feel that they're underachieving if they're not doing a certain thing. They're not always got the best car or on the best holiday or on the best. There's a massive expectation because of what they can see around the world, and it's probably quite damaging in a way, really. I mean, you get to our age now, you change your mindset, and you know what you need out of life. You don't realise that you don't have to have that to be happy, or you don't have to, you know, be that person to be happy. You sort of get more comfortable within your own person. Yeah. And, you know, if you're running, you tend to fight against yourself, don't you? You're trying to improve your times. You're not trying to beat somebody else, you know. Leave him to his thing. It's about your own battle, and you're sort of doing that. So, but yeah, you know, I've written a tune about that as well, called Best Life, which is basically, you know, about somebody that's an Instagram model that is portraying themselves in a certain way, but, you know, a picture only tells one story, and you don't really know how that person is underneath. They could be getting bombarded with messages from all sorts of weirdos and stuff like that, and, you know, it's a scary time as much as it's a good time, isn't it, really? But yeah, so I might play you that one. Yeah, you want to hear that one too?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, no problem.
She's living her best life. The night she misbehaves, posting pictures in the nightclub for her followers to rate. But she wakes up in the morning with no one by her side, and she feels so alone. Everything is not alright. She hides behind the grey shade, posts a pic to pick her up, pulls the covers over her face as the followers mount up. Her dad says she's a disgrace and he doesn't want her near. Now all she's got is her face and her online career. An online career. She's living her best life, posting pictures on the sands, photographs by sunsets. She makes a heart with her hands. Still she wakes up in the morning with no one by her side, and she feels so alone with just a phone to hold at night. She hides behind the grey shade, posts a pic to pick her up, pulls the covers over her face as the followers mount up. Her dad says she's a disgrace and he doesn't want her near. Now all she's got is her face and her online career. An online career. She misses the sunlight as the nights start to draw in. There's no signs of Mr. Right. She's not comfortable in her skin, so she wakes up in the morning and deletes herself from view. Heads off to start a best life and become somebody new. She hides behind the grey shade, posts a pic to pick her up, pulls the covers over her face as the followers mount up. Her dad says she's a disgrace and he doesn't want her near. Now all she's got is her face and her online career. An online career.
What's a tune that is?
Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's a great song.
Thank you.
It's a great song. Really sums up modern times, I think.
Yeah, I like to think so. Like we were saying before about songwriting, you know, you tend to pick up on different subjects sometimes, and it's normally something you pick up on sort of like subconsciously, and it makes you sort of start to sort of come up with lyrics and things like that, and it just goes from there really. And then, as I said, with songwriting, you're getting from A to B. You know, writing a film or writing a book must be extremely tricky. I've heard writing a book's great at the start, but by the end of it, you just had enough. Great thing about songs is that you want to keep them short and snappy, and so people remember them. And yeah, there's some poignant points really. But it's a summer feel good tune too. Really, you can dance to it, but you can also think about it. And I think that's the great thing with music. You know, you can get your point across in a happy way. Don't always have to be doom and gloom, does it?
No, I love it.
Great.
Really cool. I've got a few questions for you.
Okay,
that's all right.
That's fine.
If you could give me three things that have got you to where you are today, what would those three things be?
Three things that have got me to where I am today. I'd say my wife and my kids, because probably at a certain point in my life, I could have been going a certain way, and finding someone that's got their head screwed on, that's going to keep you on the straight and narrow a little bit, is very important for us blokes, isn't it? I think, because, you know, they tell you when you're doing wrong, keep you a little bit grounded and get you doing other things. So yeah, definitely, and my kids 100%, because it gives you someone that you don't want them to look at you and think, look at him. That you want them to be proud of you and to sort of, you know, look up to you a little bit, really. You don't have to be their hero, but you want to be a guiding thing and a positive influence. Yeah. So, you know, I
couldn't agree with that more.
My youngest son's just started playing drums, and after 6 weeks, him and his mates done a a gig in the school
Brilliant.
hall when it was packed, and I thought I'd be happy to play to this lot.
Quality.
And I said up to him afterwards, you know, I said, "Weren't you worried?" He said, "Well, it wasn't that hard, Dad, was it? It was easy enough." And I'm like, "Great. Well, you're at the age where you can push on because they're offering kids all this music stuff." So yeah, and you know, my boys are my world really. And my other nearest and dearest. So that would be point one, I'd say. Second one, I'd have to say, is a bit selfish, I suppose. Maybe myself for, I suppose, keeping at it. I've got to give myself a little bit of credit for saying, right, come on, this is the direction you want to go, for looking forward all the time and trying to sort of like push on your creativity and the things that you're into. I wouldn't be sat here today, I suppose, if it wasn't for that.
No. I agree with that. You know, like I said before, that resilience to just stay on track and just continue doing what you love to do. I mean, it's admirable.
Yeah. Third point, I would say probably that cheesy club rep on the booze cruise.
Yes.
When we're all hungover,
giving you
with
the
a San Miguel playing his Wonderwall, and I'm thinking, you whatever, jealous really. I want to be the one doing that. And everyone's enjoying it, but you know, maybe the tables have turned a little bit now. Don't know if he's still playing. Don't know where he is now, but it was a long time ago. So yeah, I'll give him a little bit of credit. Thanks for that, mate.
Love it. If you could change anything in the journey that you've been on,
what, of life or a musical journey, or
of life or music, what would you? And to what's got you to where you are today? Would you change anything? And if you would, what?
Well, you can't bring people back. You've got to realise that in life. So you've got to remember the good times with people in your life when you've lost people and stuff like that, and push forward, because they want you to push forward in life. They wouldn't want you to sit around dwelling on them forever, because they realise themselves that life's too short. So you and the people that are affected by that incident or them incidents, you know, you've got to get on. You've got to make your life work and make that person proud of you too. So maybe you're using them as a bit of inspiration, you know. So, but what would I change? Apart from that, probably would have gone on more lads' holidays, mate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a bit more inspiration.
Yeah, I'm too old for club 18 to 30s now. Yeah, we'll go with that, shall we?
Love it. Yeah, I love it. And what's next?
What's next? Well, yeah, we're planning to the end of the year, as I say. Got some good gigs booked in. Got an EP or some good songs we're proud of that are up on. They're up on Apple Music and Spotify now. So you know, if you've enjoyed the acoustic songs today, you can go on there and hear them in their finished article. Really, not the bare bones. And you know, add them to your playlist or whatnot, or share them to your friends or anyone that might like dance around the kitchen to it on a Friday night with a bottle of Prosecco, or you know, whatever makes them tick, play it in their car. So just to push forward, really. The thing is, you know, I say I always like to keep a couple of songs up my sleeve. So for the next few gigs, we're going to be playing some of the ones that we've recorded and put online. Plus, we've dropped some songs from the band, and I've written some new ones, and we've progressed them new ones into songs in the set. So, you know, it's a positive time, and I'm buzzing about it, and I can't wait to push on and get this year finished off on a high, and then plan for 2025 and start to push on to the next level, really.
Wicked. Well, wish you all the best, obviously. I'm going to be there as part of the journey. I'm going to be there on Saturday for the big festival.
Yeah, that's
Looking
great,
forward
mate.
to that.
Can't wait. We'll have a couple of beers and
yeah, 100%.
boogie, yeah.
100%. Where can people get hold of you if they need to get hold of you?
We mainly work out of Instagram. You're not going to see us dancing around on TikTok, I don't think.
Not yet, anyway.
Not with my hip. But yeah, maybe. But you find us on Instagram, the latest _band. But you know, look for the latest, a little black symbol with yellow writing. That'd be us. So give us a follow, give us a comment, and you know, we'll speak to you soon.
Wicked. And I'll put some links into the recording comments so that people can.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great. Yeah, we'd be pleased to hear from anybody. Really, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Socialising and making it happen.
Yeah.
So
All right,
Thanks
wicked.
for having me, Ant.
No, not at all. I really appreciate you coming along. Can you just do me one more favour?
What's that?
Can you give us one more song to see us out?
Yeah, okay, yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
All right, nice.
Okay, I will. I'll do that for you now.
Cheers,
Thanks
Jim.
for having us.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Cheers.
Goodbye. Okay, right. Yeah, this is a new one and aptly titled "Goodbye." So,
Love it.
thanks for having us, and yeah, all the best.
Who am I, who am I, who am I to see? What you mean, what you mean, what you mean to me? Picking up the pieces of the stories that you have told. Wait until your plans unfold. Jealousy, 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 deceit. In your eyes, slowly killing me. You're picking up the pieces of the stories that you have told. Wait until your plans unfold. So it's goodbye, it's goodbye, it's goodbye, it's goodbye. You're picking up the pieces of the stories that you have told. Wait until your plans unfold. So it's goodbye, it's goodbye, it's goodbye, it's goodbye. Picking up the pieces of the stories that you have told. Wait until your plans unfold. Wait until your plans unfold. Wait until your plans